that cinder block.
Yep.
And then we have to think about, okay, why is that there? Not how did it get there?
Used as a, I'm going to guess, whenever they were barbecuing, they would use it to sit things on, like hot things or, whatever. That's my guess.
From a behavioral analysis aspect, why is it there?
I just told you.
Is it part of the barbecue set? Is it, what's going on? There's a step upon a step, a seat, okay?
What?
But what if you're a voyeur?
Oh my God, this is going to be your big deal. This cinder block that's still sitting there after the investigation, or is this, maybe this is a picture from someone, I don't know, but go ahead, Jesus.
And that happens to be a step up when the curtains are closed. If there's curtains from the roommate or the people that are potentially staying in there.
Who would be so fucking short they needed a cinder block for that window? I'm sorry. I just don't. Was it Dolly or his nephew that came there?
There's only really been a couple female serial killers. This individual has just graduated to a serial killer.
He is not a serial killer. Why are you saying that? That would be a mass murder. Why are you saying that? This is why dumb Dolly is saying this. That's not a serial killer. He didn't graduate. Oh my God. It was a targeted. Okay. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe the cops are. You're smarter. But right now, it's not a serial killing.
It was a ghost town right then, because most of the kids were home with their families, and I say kids because we have 4 children, so.
Well, and most of the kids left because 4 students were murdered there in the area.
Beat me up on social media because I said that. Anyway, that's it. Any other thoughts, honey, with a car?
There's many other doors, front doors on these homes.
So here we are.
That would have been easier, that probably would have potentially been easier to get into than 1122. But, that's...
but they said it was targeted, Karen. So if it's targeted, what does that matter? They know it was targeted. I'm telling you. They said it right. There was something in that crime scene that convinced them immediately that someone was targeted.
Today, the FBI has a definition of the term serial killer, calling it the unlawful killing of 2 or more victims by the same offender in separate events. A mass murderer kills many people in a single event. The term mass murder was first used in a 1982 New York Times article. Unlike a serial killer, a mass murderer doesn't have a cool-off period and takes the lives of at least 4 individuals in one incident.
And you can bet that this individual is a male.
Yeah.
He is rejected, low self-esteem, yet projects himself in environments very comfortably. He's living a secret life. Remember, we live 3 lives. And the question...
Here we go. Of course it's a secret life. You think he's telling people? You with this secret life bullshit?
is, why didn't the dog bark? That is a great question. Could have familiarity with the suspect. Or he maybe just doesn't bark. Dogs do different things, right? But that is a great, great question.
Do we know the dog didn't bark? Or that the dog wasn't in the room with the other 2? Do we know this? I mean, who said it didn't bark?
We live 3 lives, our public life, our private life, and our secret life.
Okay.
Everybody has them. And that means, in this particular individual's life, he has primarily been priming the secret life.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is the process here is extremely important to find comfort in the world. So what they do is they project like a chameleon into the public and the private life. But within the secret life, they're hiding.
Right.
And they're hiding their deviancy.
Everyone.
BTK, Dennis Rader, was a perfect example of it. He was a Boy Scout leader.
I would think all serial killers have a secret life. Bundy, Dahmer, BTK.
That's his public and private persona. Thank you, mistress. But in his secret life, he was keeping tokens in his desk drawer.
He was killing people.
From his victims. One being the first, obviously, was Fox. And the Arturo family was the first set of victims. But his target there was the daughter, the youngest child. And
the difference is, it wasn't obvious she was a target. the police say this was targeted without knowing who, or I don't think they know who the suspect is.
If you think about that, that is the secret life manifesting itself. How in the world does a survivor not see the blood when they saw the victims and thought they were passed out?
He wouldn't know that.
You know, I can't answer that question.
There you go.
I don't know that, right? We don't know that. We don't know what they saw.
No.
I can assure you, whatever they saw was horrific. Mm-hmm. And my thinking is, and this is just my opinion, is if that suspect was in that house, it's possible they could have seen that suspect and panicked and locked themselves in, or thought, oh, it's just another visitor.
Who is they? Could have seen him. The two that were the two surviving victims, or the four?
And locked themselves in and went to bed. I don't know. We'll find out at some point. We'll find out. Thank you, John.
Well, I think if they saw him, we'd have a description of him.
A lot of things we don't know yet. A lot of things we don't know.
Chris, I want to jump in real quick and ask you a question that may be on people's minds. In a case like this, and you had just mentioned BTK, that case, what is your opinion on whoever did this is following the news, is watching and taking into account everything that's going on in the media, perhaps social media? Do you find in these types of cases that he would be tracking all that? And if so, on the police's end, what is their best strategy in conveying information to the public, knowing this killer could be there listening, could be out there somewhere listening?
Well, the strategy, obviously, from the BAU, I'm not going to talk about. Okay. However...
Because he doesn't know what their strategy is. Oh, my God. You don't know what it is.
Yes, he is watching. And if you're watching this show, okay, they're coming.
Yes, he is watching. And look at that smile. We're going to put bracelets on you, buddy.
Trust me.
Okay.
Hey, they're coming.
Well, we've trusted you in, the last few, and you haven't come through. So, by the way, are you going to do a follow-up on Don Wells going to prison for life? Because I think he's at home. Just asking.
And yeah, they're very, as you know, I mean, obviously, I've interviewed many of these guys.
Which guys?
I have, even in my playlist, if you go look at Wesley Allen Dodd, I interviewed him on death row in Walla Walla State Prison.
Wesley Allen Dodd killed children, sexually abused and killed children. There was no sexual abuse, nor were there children in this murder, the murders, and these murders.
In Washington in 1992, just before they hung him.
Claim to fame. You talked to a guy about to be executed. You had nothing to do with his arrest or anything else, but you interviewed him. And Matthew Chechi, I think is his name.
Person over there. And these individuals pay attention to not only, the news, they pay attention to social media. In fact, he could be any one of these avatars. Any one of these avatars. It is a male.
Okay.
It is a male. And you can bet. And he's living the fantasy now, post-incident. And the fact that he's graduated to a different level from actually executing the plan that night, right?
What plan, Chris? What plan? Can you explain his plan? Because they say it was targeted, so what was his plan? I'm not disagreeing. I just would like to know the plan.
It's a thrill for him because now it's gone even further into his fantasy. So now you're going to see, these individuals, also that's a great point too, Sleuth and Sandy. He was a church deacon.
Great point.
These individuals now, they sometimes they draw, sometimes they write, but they play out the fantasy in a variety of different, type of ways. And so they sketch. If they're artistic, then they'll figure out what they want to do the next time. And it's a constant build. It's a constant build. Remember, Ted Bundy came up with the idea of you.
Chris, why are you calling him a serial killer? Do you remember Richard Speck?
To whack his victims on the head after he was.
Really? I read a lot about him. You could be right. I've just never heard he hit him in the head with his cast.
Failed a couple of times to get some folks into the Volkswagen. So he learned from each incident. This individual has learned from this incident. Okay. Do I think the mutilated animals are
what?
Connected? You know what? Let's wait till tomorrow on that. I find it fascinating.
Well, it's okay. The police have already said it's not related. And I think it was other animals that mutilated. I don't think it was skinned, really. But they think it was other animals, not a human.
That there is a dog within 3 miles of this crime scene who has been skinned. There are three, what they call the homicidal triad: cruelty to animals, racism or wetting the bed extensively, and arson. All three of those are what they call the homicidal triad. So let's look for things that are burnt around the area as well.
Okay. I mean,
do you think he'll strike again? He's building. I would be lying to you to tell you he's not building.
well, you'd be lying to tell us anything. I know you think you're really good at this, but I don't know what all the... Again, Richard Speck killed 8 nurses. I think he had killed 1 woman years before that. But killed 8 nurses just because. It was a crime of opportunity. He just did it. I mean, they've interviewed him about this. Maybe you didn't get to interview him. But there was no rhyme or reason. He didn't fantasize about it. He didn't piss the bed or burn anything down. He was violent and got a lot of passes when he was arrested, I think, same as Andrew, 42 times. But there was none of this that you're talking about. And he methodically, and he only raped 1 of them, the last one. But he just methodically killed 8 women for no good reason. He said it should have been a burglary.
That stress is building, and that fantasy is...
Chicagoans awoke that hot July morning. They received the horrible news that Richard Speck had killed 8 nurses in this apartment, taking them one by one from the bedroom, tying them with bed sheets, either strangling or stabbing them all. Only 1 nurse survived, Corazon Amaral. She hid under a bed and survived the entire ordeal. Later, to crawl out on this ledge and scream to the neighborhood, "They're all dead. All of my friends are dead."
With each victim, and personally, either with a knife or his bare hands, extinguish the lives of absolutely harmless and innocent women who did nothing to him. It's hard to imagine more evil conduct.
On the door of Filipina exchange student nurse Corazon Amurao, 23, and, at gunpoint, herded her and her fellow exchange students from the Philippines, Merlita Gargullo, 23, and Valentina Pajan, 23, into the next room, where American students Patricia Machusek, 20, Pamela Wilkening, 20, and Nina Jo Schmale, 24, were sleeping. Speck then woke up the Americans and tied all 6 girls' wrists behind their backs with strips of torn bedsheets. Amurao, the lone survivor of the encounter, later said, "The American girls told us we more or less had to trust him. Maybe if we were calm and quiet he will be too. He has been talking to us all, and he seems calm enough, and that is a good sign." Instead, Speck then led them one by one out of the room, and then stabbed or strangled each of the women to death. Amurao said that none of her friends screamed as they were being led from the room, but she later heard their muffled cry.
6, 5 girls. Hey.
Okay.
I think Nathan was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
You think?
And
You mean Ethan, honey?
Ethan, that's what I said.
Yeah.
Ethan.
Yeah,
And-
I said Nathan.
Yeah, he was in the wrong thing. Nathan was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Yeah, he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I don't think the perpetrator expected him. And I'm sure that...
Thought he was scoping everything out. And do you have any idea why this person would kill those 4 people with no sexual assault? And as far as we know, no burglary. I don't know. Or robbery, burglary, whatever it is.
come out at some point. I don't know if there's an essay element to this in terms of what the coroner's released at this point. There
Yeah, they said there wasn't. Did you read the report before you drove down there?
doesn't seem to be an essay assault, but that could be because he was interrupted. Okay. We won't know this yet.
Okay.
But tomorrow night will be a great program with Greg Cooper. If you're not...
So was he a necrophiliac? Should we look at that? So he killed them all? Or do you think he was maybe about to have sex with one of the 2 in bed together? And I don't know that they were together. I should take that back. And then, so he just killed 4 people because he was interrupted? Or was he on the last one? I don't know. If you could explain that further, it would be great.
Let me ask you, Betsy, I'm going to answer this one. I think it was getting too complicated. And I think they were locked in their rooms. That's just my gut. And that's just my thinking.
Okay.
There could have been some kind of, maybe a peek out the door, something to this from one of those other survivors that freaked him out. They locked the door, boom.
Does that make sense? Peeked out the door, saw him, freaked him out. Although he was killing 4 people, someone peeking out the door frightened him, right? Okay.
More shocking than Speck's lack of remorse was his change in appearance. Apparently through the use of hormones, he had transformed his body to ensure his survival in one of America's most dangerous prisons.
He had the certain trappings of a female body that made him very desirable to inmates. The breasts and the, silk feminine underwear were all part of the scheme in the penitentiary. And it worked. He didn't get killed like Dahmer. Absolutely cunning survivor.
Yeah, George, you know what's going on, Pat. Let the shark be loose.